Mastering Life After Athletics. 10 motivational tips for at-risk teens, athletes, and aspiring entrepreneurs. Success is not measured in material things, but it's how many times you bounce back from failure. Therefore, we build now for a better tomorrow. Byron Williams. About the author. My life has been a string of adventures, overshadowed by an abundance of personal and public failures. I have managed to do everything from being a professional celebrity bodyguard, sports agent, best-selling author, rapper, entrepreneur, Christian, private investigator, record producer, and pro basketball player. Whew. Now, what do they all have in common? Failure. The only thing I've managed to be successful at is failure. My shortcomings made me an expert in resilience. The difference between me and most people whom fail is I look good while mastering the art of failure. My father would always say, "Son, you're too hard on yourself. Give yourself credit for what you have done." Yeah, he's right. However, I view it differently. Success is in the eye of the beholder. I am an overachiever. Once I'm focused on a goal, it is my intention to meet that mark by any means necessary. As a child, I was always driven to be better and accomplish more than my peers. I never wanted to settle for second or for less. One of my fondest memories as a child was growing up in the Crans Woods community on the east side of Detroit. Crans Woods was a culmination of suburban-style houses coexisting with the projects. Fortunately, my parents were upper middle class with blue-collar values. I was always considered as the rich kid of the neighborhood and teased for having clothes in excess. Our financial status spilled over into being bullied by the older project kids and chosen last in neighborhood sports. As a result of the outcast antics, I put together a team of neighborhood kids to compete with the project kids. Needless to say, they kicked our ass in every sport from basketball, baseball, football, and relay races. I went as far as to recruit the best athletes outside our hood to beat these project kids. Recruiting players still didn't help. Finally, a few years went by, and we were all bigger and stronger and faster as teenagers. I will always remember this day for as long as I live. It was a hot August day in 1983 when we played the project kids in two-hand touch football, where the score had several lead reversals. Was it possible? Can they be beaten? Finally, after us scoring a touchdown off a sideline pitch, the score was tied. The next score would win the game. They had the ball, and their QB dropped back for a deep pass, and the ball sailed through the air, only to be intercepted at the last minute by Lee A. He was immediately tagged out of bounds. It was getting late in our makeshift stadium, in which the street was the field and the neighbors on the front porches was the audience. We had the home field advantage, as senior citizens chimed in with youngsters saying, "Y'all better win, boys." It seemed as if everyone was outside watching us play, as dusk began to set upon our game. Back in those days, I had to be home before the streetlights came on. The sky was no longer a burnt orange, but turning gray and soon faded to black. Suddenly, one of the elders yelled, "Byron, you better beat them streetlights home." Immediately, I felt my mother's eyes piercing down the block into my chest with a burning desire to leave the game. I called a quick huddle in desperation of beating these project kids and beating the streetlights at the same time without being beaten by my mother. We broke the huddle, and Lee A was the QB, and I went to wide receiver. Just as I began to set my feet for takeoff, I looked to the streetlight, and it slightly winked as if it was returning from a deep sleep and about to be wide-eyed. "Set, go," said the QB. I took off like a lightning rod. Zoom! Lee A dropped back about 10 yards and threw a Hail Mary pass with his entire might. The ball had a perfect spiral for about 30 yards in the air, damn near hitting the streetlight. I'm now in full stride, running to get underneath the ball with arms and hands extended, but I can't take my eyes off this flickering streetlight. I remember thinking, I have to beat these kids, no matter what, even if mama's gonna kill me. I heard a neighbor say, "He's not gonna make it." I ran faster than I ever had before as the streetlight began to flutter just like the butterflies in my stomach. Suddenly, there was a loud thump of leather hitting my hands as I caught the ball and tucked it securely and ran as if my life depended on it. The crowd went nuts as I heard Lee A say, "Bring me back my ball." As I caught the ball without celebration and shouted, "I'll give it to you tomorrow." All the while, I kept running home. The cheering got louder and louder, as my ears seemed as if I were in a wind tunnel, muffling the sounds as I darted by each onlooker's porch. The closer I got to my house, I could see a silhouette standing on our front porch with the light flickering off and on, as in to say, "Get your ass home now." It was Mom, and she was standing there furious as she tapped her foot while my brother was doing the light show. The streetlights had not yet turned on as I speedily approached our house. I began to notice the cheers were no longer for catching the winning touchdown. It was for entertainment of a public torturing like the days of lions eating people in the Roman Colosseums. I finally reached my destination and took a leap of faith from the sidewalk, hurdling 5 stairs and simultaneously landing on the porch as the streetlight screamed, "Gotcha!" "Whew! I made it," I said. People were clapping as Mama said, "Boy, you cutting it close." Sometimes in order to achieve greatness, you must cut it close. There has to be a positive gamble. In other words, it's all or nothing. Enjoy these inspirational and motivational stories from my personal life, all while learning from my mistakes. You will be entertained and educated simultaneously. Enjoy.